Hello, everybody. That is right. The upcoming football season is about to start. Hope everybody is excited as I am. It is a brand new season. Antonio Brown is on the Raiders. Le'Veon Bell is on the Jets. Odell Beckham is somehow with the Browns. Everything seems off. This season has completely been turned upside down. The one thing that hasn't changed, where I'm putting my money down on all of the games. My bookie is the best place to bet on sports, and especially football, every single weekend. They have better bonuses and more prop bets than any other sportsbook, period. This year, they're actually hosting the first online handicapping super contest. First place is guaranteed to win at least $100,000, and it only costs $100 to enter. All you have to do is pick 5 NFL games against the spread every week to climb the leaderboard and score your share of the massive cash prize pool. Sports betting is one of the most fun things you can ever do, in my opinion, and especially with football, where every Sunday is complete mayhem. You're watching your fantasy team, you're watching your bets. It cannot be beat for anybody who's into sports. I would only recommend a service to my listeners that's been good to me. I use these guys. They have an amazing array of options to choose from, prop bets, player prop bets, every single game. It's really incredible. They have live in-game betting. Every game you can imagine. They have the most rewarding player perks in the business. If you're a fantasy freak, you can even bet on the over-under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. You have a $100,000, or not a $100,000 bonus, excuse me. If you use the promo code CryptoStreet, you have up to a $1,000 first deposit bonus. Free money when you deposit money. Go to MyBookie and be sure to use the promo code CryptoStreet. You bet, you win, you get paid.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's go.
Round 1. Fight.
Thank you for tuning in to the Crypto Street Podcast. Here are your hosts, Killer Whale, Prince, and Crypto Dale.
And remember to tip your waitress.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to Crypto Street Podcast. This is Dale. The trio is back. We survived the first week of fantasy football. We will talk about that later, probably at the end. We got a good guest tonight. Prince, let me have it.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. The last episode I was on talking about how Tyreek Hill was going to play every game for me. And I think he lasted 5 minutes, week 1.
Yeah.
And he's out 4 to 6 weeks now. There's my first round pick.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you're
But
Canadian.
you know what, guys? It's just the Canadian way, active management. I have a lot of guys shitting on me right now for some of the things I'm doing, but at the end of the day, I was second in the total league for scoring.
Hey, don't be giving too much out. Don't be giving too much out.
I don't know. I'm liking it right now. The scouting staff is pretty happy with our performance. So,
Scouting staff.
Team.
Yeah,
Prince
I like how he approaches this. We've got everyone that doesn't know. We have a podcast crypto or a podcast fantasy football league where each 3 of us are in our own league, separate league, and then we kind of bundle up the champion in the last 2 weeks, and then they win that. We've talked about it before, but Prince was the only one last year that didn't make the playoffs. Let's just
say it was a big reality check. Reality check.
So we have a Telegram group with everyone in it, and Prince is always referring to the staff or the team,
Prince,
meaning the
Team Prince, the scouting staff, and the manager.
Like he's an old Southern ball coach, it was a real good bunch in that there locker room. Those guys didn't like the taste of losing much.
Yeah.
We'll dabble into this a little bit later towards the end, but Killer, how are you?
I'm terrible. You sent out the list of scoring. Oh, yeah, I guess we already talked about that, but I scored the lowest points of anybody in the 3 leagues, so I'm extremely upset, and I'm questioning why I even play fantasy.
You know what, though? It's kind of like how my rounds of golf start, okay? I either start out really hot and then end horribly, or I start out the first hole bad and then I end very well. So maybe that's what's in store for you.
I hope so. I appreciate the optimism.
Yeah, we'll do this. Otherwise, you two, everything else good? What anything you need, Prince? You start hockey yet?
Yeah, we got like first week of training camp was done, so team's looking pretty good. I think we're gonna go back for some championships this year. Go and do the back-to-back. Yeah, team's looking good. Getting some good guys trickling down from better leagues. So
if you guys make it again, I'm half tempted to come up and watch the championship game because I watched it when it streamed last year. It was awesome.
Yeah, they did really good with all that, the commentating and the stream and everything. So we'll see. This is new season's upon us. We got 2 more X's left, and then the regular season kicks off. So
2 more X's left.
Yeah, exhibition.
You guys abbreviate everything. I love it. But Whale, everything else good?
Life's good, man. Yeah. Trying to think what's going on in the world. Equity markets, boring-ish. Crypto, a little bit boring, but we're going to try to dissect and see what comes next because we've seen this consolidation, and I think we should have some action before too long.
Yeah, and I think that's a great transition into our guest, Tradeboi Carti. Tradeboi is our guest tonight. That was a little maybe excessive, but tomatoes. So welcome, Carti. We're going to kind of call you Carti. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me. And did I hear there's a hockey player in here?
Yeah, that's me. I'm coaching, so just a junior B squad out here. So it's fun.
Where are you located?
Oh, I'm out in Calgary.
Yeah, okay, so I'm out in Montreal.
Oh, okay, yeah. We're on other sides here. East Coast, West Coast.
Exactly. So, just to preface myself a bit, again, thanks for having me on, guys. I try to catch all your episodes when you guys post them, so it's a really great honor to be on here.
That's great. Thanks.
A few of your episodes most recently, I really had a strong liking for, especially the Flood one, Tyrone Ross Jr., which is in a similar industry as me, Alex Davidoff. I learned a lot of stuff from there. I'm not as familiar with the options as the experts are, but it's great to hear differentiating views in the finance world and what you guys are trying to bring to the retail side and the listener. So when I'm all for education and anybody trying to expand their knowledge of what's out there and becoming financially literate, which is in my opinion severely lacking amongst the millennial generation and even so forth with the boomer generation as well. So financial literacy is a big crisis, is a big impediment to a lot of people's lives, and they really don't know, especially being in Canada. Our financial literacy is way lower than it would be, say, in the States or whatnot, in my opinion at least. And so a little bit about myself, as you heard before, I'm from Montreal. I'm 34 years old. I used to actually play professional hockey. Minor league though, so don't get too excited.
It's the dream though, getting paid to play hockey, so that's cool.
Yeah, it was all right. It was a good time. It was just, I graduated my undergraduate university. I went to school in the States, and I finished my undergrad literally at the peak of the recession, of the economic crisis, and I had a degree in finance. And if anybody listening is familiar with what happened in the last recession, there was no finance jobs. Everybody was being laid off, economic turmoil. And at the time, I was lucky enough to have some skill at hockey, if you want to say. And I decided to go play my first year. At the end of my first year, I played, so 08, 09 I played. And then after that, I signed in Europe. And right then I said, okay, I'm going to play no matter what. I'm not going to look for another job because Europe's a big opportunity. After the second year, I said to myself, okay, maybe time to look for a job now. Things are kind of settling back in Canada there. And again, no one was hiring me. So I went to play again, and I did this consecutively for 5 years. And then after the 5th year, I was getting a bit older. I met my current fiance, and I said to myself, you know what, enough's enough. Living the dream is great, but things at home are getting a bit better. So I decided, I kept applying for jobs, but it's not like, something like sales or something like that. The longer you're out of finance, it's like the less attractive you are on paper compared to, let's say, a 23-year-old or 24-year-old that just graduated. So I said, I got to go back to school, at least be marketable on paper. And I went and got my MBA.
Nice.
And when I was doing my MBA, I was unsure again exactly what I wanted to do going into it. And when I graduated, I said, okay, listen, like I'm definitely certain that I want to do finance now. And I was lucky enough. If this is the Crypto Street podcast, so we'll talk primarily about crypto. I was in around 2016, late 2016. I was exposed to crypto by one of my close friends. I don't know if you guys listen to EDM music, but the group Adventure Club is one of my best friends, and there's two guys in that group. I'm closer with one of them, and he had got into Ethereum at like $14, and he'd asked me, have you ever ever seen anything about crypto? And I said, I've never really looked into it. I heard about it. In fact, like I had once been at the gym while I was training for hockey, and I saw like a Bitcoin ATM. These things are gigantic, and I think the price of Bitcoin at the time was $350 or whatever. And I never bought anything because I said, what is this? Like, who knows? Which is obviously kind of regrettable now, but he gave me exposure into crypto. He said, listen, really take a good look at it, take a good dive. And I had just, finished my MBA. I was, doing some consulting, and I was really exposed to the FA side of the industry. I was never really a TA guy coming from the traditional asset model. It's either FA or TA, and I would be inclined to say that FA is a stronger look on the equity side, unless you're looking at algorithmic trading or the HFT guys, whatever. That's a bit of a different topic, but more so along on the investment side, it's more along the lines of FA, dividend paying, value versus growth, discounted cash flows, P multiple, stuff like that. So coming into crypto in a completely speculative class, I said to myself, you know what, like this guy's a pretty good investor, the Adventure Club guy. They make great music, so I'm going to get a plug for them there, but he's also the one that I'm friends with is also an unbelievable business mind, and he said, take a look at it. And embarrassingly enough to say, the first thing I did when I first ever bought Bitcoin in 2016, late 2016, was right away hold it for a bit, not really look at it. And then early 2017, I said to myself, you know what, like I'm just going to see, because I've done research every now and then. I started looking at altcoins just like everybody else did, and the first two things I bought, which is like now that I'm, want to call myself a crypto vet, was pretty embarrassing. I bought Ethereum Classic for the reason that it was like discounted Ethereum without even doing any research.
It was my first love.
And like now, like if you guys want to hang up on me right now, it's fine. But like my second purchase was Ripple.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say
that. Considering it, I got my finger on the button.
Yeah, and it wasn't because like, man, like this thing is so cheap, like it's going to moon. Like it was because of the banks. Like I said, I come from traditional finance background, and I said,
I get it.
Anything that's going to help the banks should be worth more. But again, I had done very, very little research. Not the research that I would do for normal investments or any of my consulting gigs. And
I don't like it, but I get it.
The next day I looked at my Blockfolio. Actually, I wasn't even using Blockfolio. I was using like Poloniex mobile, and their stupid app. And then the next day, I remember looking at it. My investment, so to say, was down 50% in one day, and I was like, wow.
Sounds like Ripple.
Yeah, and it was like relatively liquid at the time. It was not like looking at the OTC markets or the OTC pinks or stuff like that. Like those things are liquid penny stocks. Like I had exposure to that. I had worked in that space in terms of working for a broker dealer based out of Atlanta in the OTC markets. And so I had understood what, speculative asset classes were and all that kind of stuff, private placements, warrants, but it had always been based on financial statements, and there's nothing like that in crypto. So I really decided to take a different path, really researched these two shitcoins, if you want to say, and came to my conclusion that I'd wasted my money. So I waited for my investment to return, because at the time, things were crazy. So the minus 50% came back to break even, like maybe after 2 or 3 weeks. I sold it all for Bitcoin, and that's when I really sat myself down, read the Satoshi white paper, read everything, really got into it hard. And then that's, why I'm still here today. I was just fascinated by it. So a bit of a ramble there, like I said, like you guys said, not to worry about, but yeah, that's about me in a nutshell.
Let's go back to crypto for 1 second, but I have a quick question regarding your MBA.
Yeah.
You feel like you use a lot of that knowledge that you got while getting that practically, or is it more of like an entry ticket into the roles that you wanted to get?
So my MBA, like, I think it's twofold. Like, one, yes, I kind of had to do it because I was out of the workforce for so long. So it's, imagine someone just graduating an undergraduate degree, and now they have the ticket again, like just be able to speak to the hiring manager or whatnot. But the good thing about the MBA, which a lot of people don't understand, and I see on crypto Twitter, and again, I really don't care what crypto Twitter people think. Like, I'll explain my thoughts on that later. But the best part about the MBA, in my opinion, it's a lot of teamwork. So coming from the athletic background, that kind of helped me out. But it's a lot of case studies. So really, that's what I find the most valuable about it. It's not necessarily the courses. Like, I took a course like management information systems. Like, I could care less about that. But whether it was, like, again, management information systems, investment analysis, finance, corporate finance, all these things, like, it was all based on case studies. And if anybody listening to this is in school or thinking about going to the workplace and not sure, looking at their degree or sitting in class and thinking, man, like, this is the worst. Like, when am I going to use this in real life? Well, in real life, like, your whole career, I don't care if you're self-employed or you're working for a corporation, it's all case studies. So whatever you do in your life pretty much is a case study. It's a problem and how you're going to solve it. And given the path that you take in life, that's really how the MBA is geared, and it really makes you think outside the box and think how you're going to solve problems on your feet. So I would say that's pretty much why a lot of employers really look at the MBA, more so in the past. Now it's kind of a commodity. In the finance world, people are leaning more towards the CFA now as opposed to the MBA, and the CFA is now turning itself into a commodity, slowly but surely. Yes, the pass rates are super low. It's the hardest finance exam around, but more and more people are taking it. So more people are, getting the CFA designation, and now people are leaning towards the FRM. They're going to the CAIA designation as well. So every day every year it seems like there's another thing to add, a few letters to your business card. But at the end of the day, it's really just expanding your knowledge and expanding the way you think about certain things.
What is the CAIA? Is that what you mentioned? I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, so that's just for alternative investments. So alternative investments nowadays, I don't know if you guys are familiar, if you guys follow, the traditional markets, but fixed income and bonds are like kind of dying out, just based on the rates and whatnot, and even based on public interest. The returns on them are, unless you're an elite bond trader or whatnot, the average person is not really interested anymore in fixed income. And like I said, the returns aren't that great, but private equity is now becoming more and more of a forefront and becoming more and more available to non-accredited investors just through different means. And because of that, some firms are seeking like the CAIA type analysts, where they're just, guys who are just doing the analyst work on alternative investments, whereas, the CFA would be the analyst on your traditional equity or whatnot. The CAIA guys are more focused on the alternative investment space, so, the private equity and whatnot. So, and that's getting more and more popular. And if you guys, if people, again, listening to this are really into crypto and you think it's going to be a world-changing thing, and you really aren't sure what you want to do in finance, take a look at the CIA. I don't have it, but I've always looked at it, and I think it's just something that's going to set you apart from other people. I think it's a great thing to have.
So as Carti, as someone that's kind of in the, well, let's skip that one. I guess we've kind of already touched on it. So on a day-to-day basis, basically, what is it that you do, and what are some things when you're pulling up a chart that you kind of look at?
So for me, in the equity space, I more or less, again, I'm more of an investor when it comes to equities. I'm not really a trader. I don't really care to trade equities just because there's a completely different fundamental analysis that you could take to equities. Whereas, when I laugh when I see FA, people talking about FA in the crypto space. Yeah, there is some that exists, but always remember it's speculative. At least when you do FA on an equity, you develop a model and you determine whether it's overpriced, underpriced, it's value. Even just as a regular investor, if you don't want to do the discounted cash flows or really go in deep, say yourself, am I a growth or a value investor, and determine, if I'm not really a growth investor, and I'm just a value investor, the first thing you can just look at is dividend paying stocks. So that's really, really different. I got first exposed to technical analysis when I was doing my MBA. In one of my investment classes, they taught us like the in-depth FA, and then for the whole semester, I'd say 2 weeks was dedicated to TA. But nothing like you see right now. The crypto traders or the FX traders. Like, it wasn't exactly what you see today, as in depth. It was more because, in my opinion, and anybody who trades crypto will see, it's like Bitcoin could be said it's the most liquid, volatile asset on earth, but it's 100% speculative, and that's why it follows TA so well, because it's just TA, people trading TA. There's really no fundamentals, and I laugh when people say the fundamentals behind it. Because you see news about Backed, or you see it about Fidelity or stuff like that. You see lawyers out there to make money like the rest of us. So there's really no fundamental news about it right now, in my opinion. And but we're still very young. We're still very early, 10 years in. So I'm not really worried about the fundamental analysis on Bitcoin now. I'm more focused on the volatility of trading, and that's another look I take. So when I look at equities, I don't really look at the chart so much as if something like has gone up. We're not going to say the S&P, but let's say like a regular stock has just gone up like mooned forever. You could still buy it and still pull off another 5 to 10%. Whereas in crypto, it might have mooned like over a day, 2 days, 3 days, and you buy it, and then the next day you're minus 60%. Like, you very, very, extremely rarely would ever see that in equity. So again, it's just your investment analysis and your thesis that you take into certain investments. But I love the speculative nature of crypto. I work right now in wealth management. I help co-manage a $300 million book. But before doing that, I was in the venture capital space with a company here in Montreal, family office, closed end. Also had crypto exposure. Had a crypto exposure based on the mining side. Had about 30,000 rigs running. Wow. And would just build farms and then sell them off. As you guys know, or if they had seen, that Canada, specifically Montreal and Quebec, there was a lot of government incentives for miners to come over here, so it's pretty cheap electricity. So these guys would just set up farms and then sell them. But they're pretty much on the venture capital side, and they'll invest in any emerging tech that they deem fit, or literally any business that is revenue generating. And from there, you could do, the fundamental analysis on that, even though it could be speculative, and it's mostly pro forma, is still much easier to do than you would say in crypto. So again, a bit off tangent there, but
it's good. It's good to hear that. And, I think a lot of people that, I hear about managing funds and, they instantly think of the traditional finance market. So in your opinion, what do you think needs to happen in the crypto space to get these crypto funds to that next level, maybe the traditional finance type level?
So there are a lot of crypto funds out there, but I'd say I saw a report that the majority of them have right now under 10 million AUM. Obviously you're going to have your major players like your Panteras, which obviously got wrecked. You have your Novagrats and all that. But again, it's still a retail space. It's a heavily involved retail space. And it's really the thing about crypto, what's so fascinating that I like it so much, it's that, yes, it's still like a new asset class, if you want to call it, because 10 years is not long. Very, very speculative, but it requires a learning curve. So whatever the fund, their strategy is or their MO is, no matter what you tell people, like whatever they're trying to sell to an investor, at the end of the day, they still have to explain why blockchain is the future, or crypto is the future, or Bitcoin is the future, something like that. So it requires a learning curve. Whereas if I were to go up to you and say, hey, I'm an equity fund, this is my strategy, we buy only X amount, we're either long only, longish, short only, we have this amount, this is our investment thesis, and we're returning 12% a year. You're a regular investor, you say, man, 12%, like, oh my God, of course I'm going to invest in this. Like, you guys are generating alpha. Like, I'm definitely going to get in there. Whereas, if I were to come up to you and say, listen, like, I'm a crypto fund, I'm returning like 300% a year, like, a regular investor is going to laugh in your face. So, like, no, you're not. Like, and if you did, it was in a bull run. And it's a lot of crypto people that I've spoken to, a lot of funds are people that just, jumped onto the bull run and said this is going to be a money-making opportunity, and they just opened up a fund. And to be honest, to open up a fund, I've been in the fund space for, I'd say, like 3 years. And to open up a fund in the States, it's very, very easy as compared to, like, Canada. I'm currently a member of a crypto fund. I won't tell anybody what it is on this podcast. I am a managing partner, just because I don't want to dox myself, but I am in a crypto fund, but it's Bitcoin only. So no alts, just Bitcoin only. And, a lot of these other funds are just based on, altcoins and all. We have good investments in alts. We have, we think this is going to be like a lasting, like, alt investment. Like, okay, great. I mean, it's all speculative at the end of the day, and investors, especially people nowadays who in their mindset are thinking there's going to be a correction in the traditional market sometime soon, whether it be 6, 12, 18 months, they're not really willing to invest in something so risky. And that could potentially see, crazy downside in their investment, because, one of the great things about traditional finance is, everybody can make money in a bull run, right? So everybody for the last 10 years, every wealth manager, every single financial advisor, portfolio manager, all these guys, like, have been making money. It's not hard in the last 10 years to make money, right? These guys have had almost a license to print money. It's really, really easy. Just, it's a matter of, pulling an AUM. But at the end of the day, like in last December, when the markets really pulled back, really in my opinion, what really sets the guys apart that are great is their downside capture. So, like, how exposed are they to the overall downside of the market? So if the S&P falls down 15%, how much is your overall portfolio down? Is it down 5%? Well, then great, your downside capture is amazing. All right, so whereas in crypto, there's really no index. There's nothing you can really compare yourself to but the returns of Bitcoin. And again, I still think people stop. The more and more you look on crypto Twitter, and people talking about all season, like it's coming back. Like, why would it come back? It doesn't have to come back. Nothing has to return. So again, that's just one of the things I think why the crypto funds are struggling. It's either their altcoin bag holders don't have a proper strategy, don't know the right investors to target. Very, very retail. This is a very, very retail heavy space. Whereas, if you're a hedge fund in New York City, you could still pull in institutional investment. Whereas in crypto, you won't. There's no way. It won't even pass compliance at every institution. Mm-hmm. So no one's allocating money for that. And it's just because it's still the Wild West. It's still highly unregulated. There's no SEC involvement. I mean, if you open up a fund tomorrow, you are SEC regulated if you do it properly. But again, there's no oversight there is oversight, but there's no defined regulation right now. I mean, they said Bitcoin's not a security, but again, there's always that looming fear in people's minds that A, the SEC could clamp down tomorrow in the US and say crypto's done, or B, which I don't think they will, or B, people are still, they really, really got ruined in crypto and they lost public interest. So even though we're at Bitcoin, we saw Bitcoin at 14,000 off the lows there. Right now it's actually, as we're on this podcast, it's kind of taking a dump. But from the lows there, we saw it rise, but the market cap not really increased that much. So I wouldn't say that there's a lot of public interest in it. So if you don't have public interest in a space, you're not going to really be able to pull in crazy AUM. And I think a lot of these crypto funds out there, the ones that I've spoken to, the ones that I've helped out, because I've helped out a number, crypto funds just opened as a consultant. A lot of people are, maybe they have their developers and they have a great bot. They don't know how to pull on the operations side. Will I help with that? But having said that, a lot of these people in crypto are still still younger, no financial background. And it's funny, a lot of these funds that I've spoken to, from the ones that I spoke to in 2017 and 2018, now are either praying to be a fund of funds, where they just invest their funds assets in another fund that does better than them just to get some return for their investors, or their kids have, returned to university. And traditional people are probably just laughing at that. So it's very, very hard at this point to really, really sell, unless you're already coming from the institutional background or you're coming from a large family office. It's very hard to, convince someone, say, hey, put 1, 2, 5, 10% of your net worth into crypto, because it's going to be like this in the future. And again, 70% of all crypto funds are long only, by the way. Just look at a guy like Pomp. A lot of people give him shit on crypto Twitter, but the guy does have a pretty successful fund. He has a great team. I've never spoken to him personally, but his team is excellent, and they're long only. So buy and hold strategy is very in Bitcoin. Yeah, I guess if you DCA'd, you'd be up now, but if you bought at 20K, you're not too happy still. So it's a very, very different asset class for people that are really not exposed to it. And I think the main investor for this is the ones that would be exposed, investors in private equity funds, different stuff like that. Venture capital funds would be more inclined to invest in crypto if they could have a decent return on their investment. But again, a lot of these current crypto funds have no connections to those types of people, because it's not really necessarily things that family offices don't really, private equity guys don't really advertise themselves too much, especially any fund that's SEC compliant but is exempt. You can't advertise your services, or market yourself. It's really word of mouth, and a lot of these guys don't know how to do it.
So going back to current price action, I guess we can talk about alts after, but what do you think personally in terms of what Bitcoin is going to do? We've kind of been consolidating since late June. Do you have any thoughts on where we go from here?
So if you look at personally, I'm a big fractal guy, and I looked at I was exposed to fractals. I was exposed to fractals by Kazanomics. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
Yep.
And I don't know if people like him or don't like him. And again, that's not I don't want to debate anybody on that. I really like the guy and the fact that the way he trades is completely different than anybody else. And I never ever would have thought about putting a gold fractal on Bitcoin. And if you were to go to his blog right now and pull up his fractal chart, he's called these moves pretty much dead on since, I want to say, 2017. But even up till today, it's still overlay on the chart. It's still pretty good. But in my opinion, right now, it's just very choppy. I see some guys on Twitter. I don't really want to call them out, but they say, it's very choppy right now. I don't see any macro move to be made. Then we pump $1,500 off the bottom, or we dumped $1,200 from the top. So there's still money to be made. It's just a matter of, defining your risk reward setups and finding what type of trader you are. If you're an intraday guy, a day trader, you want to say, past few days might not have been great. Or the past few weeks might not have been great. If you're a swing guy, then, if you're making 2 trades a month, you could be pretty up or you could be pretty down right now. But in my opinion, it seems like there's less and less buying pressure down here in this current week and the past few days. It's just a matter, in my opinion, it's like that 97 to 9,900 level is going to break, because every time we get back down there, we just rip off the bottom, but we're making lower highs. So it's not really convincing that we're going to, get back to that 14K range. When we were doing that crazy run up, and we stopped at high 13s or 14,000, and we pulled back to 9K or something like that, I said to myself, we're definitely going to 14.4. I just thought it was just a large macro pullback, and I was completely wrong. It's died out, but again, this level of 9K has held. 9.9 to 9.7 has been holding since August. In my opinion, I think we need a pullback the 7K range, which again everybody's looking at as well. But so you guys know as well as anybody, if everybody's looking at the same thing in crypto, people are going to get wrecked. So in my opinion right now, last night I shorted 10,178. I closed 50% at 9,874, and then I was stopped out on today's run up in profit, which for me is fine. In this chop, I'll take 50%, and then take a stop in profit if I have to, just secure profit, because there's nothing you want worse than get stopped out with slippage in a scam pump only to see it wick against you. So.
So shifting over to alts now, you mentioned earlier that you think, you need a kind of a compelling reason to believe they'll come back. So do you just think they're going to zero, or do you think they still have some cycles ahead of them, or what are your thoughts on those?
So the thing with alts that people don't understand, and I tweeted out recently, and it's whether it's an ICO or even the current IEO, and coming from the venture capital side, which is my first exposure to finance. I know personally that you get into a project that's not public, it's illiquid. Your time horizon could be a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending on the industry that you're investing in, the sector. But a lot of people in crypto Twitter don't understand that it's a long exit. So what the amazing thing of ICOs is that it allowed VCs to get crazy deals on scam companies that aren't required on Earth, and it provided instant liquidity for VCs. It wasn't like they had to hold on to this for 5-6 years. It was instant liquidity to be able to dump on retail. And a lot of in my opinion, for such a small market cap asset class, there's too many coins out there for the amount of money that exists in crypto, and a lot of these projects need to die off. When I was seeing things people were saying shopping, I remember that vividly. Shopping's the next ICO. It's great. People shilling it. What's so good about it all? It's a decentralized marketplace. Why the hell would anybody stop using eBay or Amazon? I don't understand why you have to go decentralized.
Totally.
And shopping, like, I think it went to zero, or it was, there was fraud in it or something like that. Like, who cares? It was just a joke, And we saw and it's not only that, like, I'm not going to lie, like, I got suckered into a lot of ICOs. I think I made money on one ICO out of all the ones I invested in, and I lost like a ton of money in ICOs just because I got sucked in. Like, even if I want to say my financial background, like, I still got sucked into the hoping to make tons of money. And if there's any lawyers that actually listen to this, I would love to sue Apollo Ono, who like really sold hybrid block. So if anybody's listening and they want to sue Apollo Ono and get some like notoriety, then so be it. Like, hybrid block is worth zero.
I'm welcoming that.
Yeah. But yeah, so in terms like altcoins, I think there's some that we had the phase that everybody talks about it, but I believe it's true. Like, it was all speculative. Like, everybody sold a promise, and now people are waiting on that promise to come to fruition. And, whether that company has any money left or they've exit scammed, or even if they're still working, there really is no one really using any of these altcoins in anybody's lives. I mean, you want to say there's some utility to say a BNB because you could use it for trading fees. Great. Like, I guess that's some utility. I do hold a little bit of BNB, but like nothing to like really care about. So if you're going to invest in altcoins right now, my opinion is, yes, look at the team, look if they have any money left, if they're still developing, check their GitHub. Really, if a company is hiring, that's a good sign too, because that means they have good money and they're really, really developing. I'm not saying apply for the job, but just see if they're hiring, because that means they're spending money. And certain things like that, like, it's still so early in the process that I don't know if any of these are going to take off. And, people say, human nature, everything's a market, everything's going to, come back. It's an alt bear market. Another thing that doesn't work in the alt favor is the fact that their price is listed in Bitcoin and Sats. So every time Bitcoin pumps, these things dump. Like, if these were traded in USD, I think, and I mean, some of them are, but I think if they're just decoupled from Bitcoin altogether and just traded versus USDT, we'll say, like, I think you'd see a different different alt cycle than we're seeing now, because like anybody who, let's be honest, the only people that bought alts in the last bull run was retail, because they're still pretty much illiquid, and any big money wasn't buying something that was illiquid. So all retail just got absolutely wrecked. Like, you in 2018 you thought it was bad, and you said, okay, like, this past April I'm having a breath of fresh air, like things are come back. I think that was like the month, like a dead cat month.
Yeah.
And now you're like down another 60%. And like Suzu said, like, great line. He's like, your altcoins could, fall 99% every single day because they're infinitely divisible because they're in Sats. So like, you could just keep losing money all day. Like, you could end up with a fraction of a penny. Like, it's sickening, So
No.
It's crazy, like, so it might, like, right now, if anybody's listening and they want, like, this is not financial advice, don't even like look at like altcoin. Like, altcoin trading right now is just crazy. Like, just talk to people, if you don't know TA, or just buy Bitcoin and hold it. Like, seriously, like, just buy Bitcoin and hold it. Like, in my opinion, like $10,000 is a fair value for Bitcoin. I think that's like a fair value. Just because we've hovered here so long, like, forget about, 2018 and the 6K or whatnot. Some people might say 6K is what it's worth, so, but if you're in crypto and you think it's going to be here forever, and you came into this space to make money, and just buy Bitcoin in the meantime, just hold it, like, get on with your life. Like, don't day trade altcoins, because all it is bots competing against bots right now, or pump and dumps. Like, it's not worth it like it once was. And if you want to, if there's going to be another alt bull run, it's not going to be any of this bullshit that we see right now on Binance. It's going to be like new coins that come out, that are doing something, or maybe one of the 100 other shit coins that exist out there has finally developed into something. They have a real world product that people could use. Like, maybe that's worth the investment. But again, like, You know what? I'm also going to be honest. Like the majority of my crypto wealth was made in alts. Like I started BitMEX in late 2017, but I made like an absolute killing in alts. Just in 2017, like bull run, it was like, you know, it was a license to print money, and you could throw a dart at a board and 10x it.
Yeah.
I remember I was going to invest in a business, in some real estate, in literally when Bitcoin was like at 19K, and you know, it was in price discovery, and I said, you know what, like I need some money for March. I need to like cash out of my crypto for March, because I want to, you know, diversify my holdings. I want to take some of this money this crazy money that I've made. I want to put it into real estate. And I said, I need the money for March. I'm going to wait till March to cash out. And funny enough, the Adventure Club guy said to me, why would you wait? You have the money now, just cash out now. So I said, okay, I guess you're right. So I cashed out at 19K. I was so lucky. I cashed out at 19K, like at least like 60% of my Bitcoin holdings.
Dang.
And I remember the next day, I looked at, and I was still holding alts. I remember the next day I looked at my Blockfolio, and all the amount of fiat value that I had pulled out was immediately back in my Blockfolio, because like everything was still pumping, and like that's not sustainable and that's not real. And I imagine I wasn't the only person that like got euphoric like that, and then, you know, everybody got wrecked. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because, or not funny, but I remember I was on vacation with my family in Florida, and you know, at the time I had probably been in about a year, maybe a little less, and I remember thinking to myself, this has just been too easy. Like, you know, I was just like, if I could only, you know, first I was like, if I could only get to this dollar amount. And then I hit that dollar amount, you know, and everything still looked like it was cruising. And then I was like, okay, well, now that I blew through that amount, I'm this amount. And then it just kept going and kept going. And I was like, geez, a week ago we were here and we've 5X our total. I'm talking to my wife. We've 5X our, you know, our total portfolio in a matter of a week. And that was kind of, looking back now, that should have been my telltale side to sell everything and get the hell out. But, you know, I obviously I sold some of it and got out some, but not near enough. But
yeah, and that happened to everybody. I remember at the height, like literally this was the top. Okay, like I had a personal trainer at the gym that I work out at come up to me. You know, that I was in crypto. He's like, man, like I gotta buy Ripple. That's $3. I gotta buy Ripple. Like this thing is like everybody's saying it's gonna make me rich. I gotta buy. I'm like, and this is like, this personal trainer is maybe the worst businessman I've ever seen in my life. He's like tried so many. He's
probably listening right now. He's like, "What the fuck, bro?"
Yeah. He's tried so many different ventures, and all of them fail, and he ends up just going right back to personal training, you know. And I gotta buy Ripple. Do you own any other crypto? I own Bitcoin Cash. It's cheaper Bitcoin. I was like, looking back today, I should have said, man, this guy is my top signal. Yeah, it was my top signal. And if you look at my Twitter timeline, I think at like 13,000, like this year, I said the exact same trainer just asked me, hey, did I miss the ride on crypto? Should I get back in? And I said, this is a top signal. And then 30 minutes later, we've never gone back to 13,000. So
can we arrange like a deal where you let us know anytime you have an interaction with this guy? Because like we need these signals.
Man, like it's crazy. Like this is another thing that like if people like really showed a guy like Catsonomics the respect that he deserves, like these guys his whole group is all sentiment traders. So like they really look at like things like this, like certain signals that would, you know, be a top or a bottom, and it's like just crazy how they make crazy money in options. I don't trade options, and I don't have access to the way they trade options, but they do it all based on like sentiment. And it's a different type of like investment that I've never seen, but I do see the emotional side of investing in my wealth management business right now, just through the retail, like, the S&P pulls back or the market pulls back. I'm getting calls left and right. Oh my God, what's happening with the market? And I got to explain to them, like, don't be emotional. Like, this thing, in my opinion, is still going to 3,100. Like, it's just a hiccup. Yeah, like, there's so many people out there. Like, you could just think everybody that's listening to this that was in crypto early that didn't like sell at the top, just look back at the top, and there were certain points that you could just say to yourself, like, wow, like, that was a sign that I should have sold it. Like, whether it was the 5x in the portfolio or some idiot telling you, like, hey man, like, I just made 10x in so and so coin, and like, this guy has no financial knowledge whatsoever. Like, that could be a pretty big sign that's, there's a top in, or if you want to say the reverse side on the bottom, when you see on crypto Twitter, every single person calling for 1,800, every single person, it's going to be 1,800. And like, I was even one of the people that said, like, in 2018, I said like 2,800 would be like the bottom. And even I was off, like, I was one of those people that saying, like, man, this is going to dump to like 2,800 or whatever, so like, the sentiment at the bottom was like at the all-time worst, like, man, 1,800, and then like we hit 14K, so that's actually one of the main reasons why I love crypto Twitter. It's a huge sentiment gauge, and I have a list on crypto Twitter of certain people, I won't tell you who they are, that I consider counter indicators, and whenever they tweet, I could pretty much take the opposite side of them, let's say in 2019, and I'll win 8 out of 10 times.
Please share.
I think we all we consider that in our mind.
We all have lists, but I'd be curious to hear your list.
Some who may have been on this podcast at some point too.
No, like, for like some people, like, there's a lot of people in this space that get a lot of like hate, and there's like me, the type of person I am, being a fellow Canadian, you can understand. So I really don't have any ill will towards anybody. There's certain people that I dislike that I know they're charlatans. Like, I know they're like just huge pieces of shit in life, just from dealing with them. But there's a lot of people, like, a lot of people dislike Flood because he's super cocky on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But like, Flood's an amazing trader. I don't care about his trading stack size. If he had $100, if he had $1 million, okay, and he would still trade the same way, he'd still be a profitable guy. Like, that guy at the end of the year is making money. I speak to Flood through Discord, every now and then. And in the bear market, I believe he said it in on your show when he came on, that he had like family issues. But I asked him, so you mean to tell me in the bear market you sat on your hands for 4 months and didn't do anything? And he's like, yeah. And he made spot buys, he made margin buys. Like, patience like that is going to be rewarded. And I don't care if people dislike him for the way he is. But I mean, like, who cares about crypto Twitter? Like, no one knows who you are. It's anonymous. Like, people that go on there and get offended, like, who cares? It's just like ego stroking. That's all it is, It's literally just ego stroking. That's all crypto Twitter is. And like, there's other people, like, there's a lot of people in crypto, and I think this is one of the things we were going to get around to in our discussion about, paid groups and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm actually not one of the people that's against paid groups. I really, but you have, like, in my opinion, it depends why you're in the paid group. Like, if you're going to a paid group for only BitMEX signals, like margin trade signals, like, you're a pleb and you're going to get wrecked. Like, you can't rely on that. But if you're going to go into there's like two different types of groups, in my opinion, that are worth it. Either like a group that there's like shitcoin hunters. They find like speculative coins that end up going like 20x or whatever, and you would never ever find that ever in your life. With like even doing your own research and hunting like the depths of crypto, like, you don't know any of this stuff because it is like a tight knit community. And it's like, we all think this is going to do well. It's really, really, who knows who knows what. And like, if you're going to pay to get into a group that's going to 20x certain coin, 10x, 5, who cares what x? Like, if you're just going to get a return on some stupid shit coin, like, then it's worth it. If you're going to go, like, so before the peak bull run, I joined the Korean dojo, a paid group, and I just did it because I had, there's guys there just like killing it altcoins, and that's how I made a majority of my wealth. I mean, in crypto, these guys, we bought through Jake, aka the Korean Jew. We bought like Ven at 30 cents. We got ended up doing 30x on Ven. I did like what was it, like 40x on Luxcoin. These things I wouldn't have found on my own. So in my opinion, these things were worth like a paid group at the time. And it's 2 years later, I'm still in the dojo. I'm absolutely, it's not a paid group anymore, but it's invite only. And Jake and I are friends, and I'm doing some projects with other guys in that group that I consider lifelong friends now. And another group that, and I'm not trying to plug other people on here. I'm not really trying to advertise other groups, but if you're going to go into a paid group and it's, you say, listen, I work a 9-to-5 job. I fucking hate my job. Man, there's got to be a better way to this. I really, really loved trading crypto, but 9-to-5, how am I going to do this? Or, if you want to say, listen, I've set aside, X amount of money. I could live off that for a long time. I just want to become a trader. There's guys on crypto Twitter that are, absolute great traders. This guy also gets hate, but Trader Scarface, now Scarfy, is maybe one of the best traders on crypto. And I know he has beef with Flood. I don't know if it's genuine or not. I don't care. I'll take it. Anybody that I see has value, I'm going to support them. And this guy, Scarface, he's teamed up with me and Mr. TA and the Bitcoin Trade Group. And I've been in that group before just to brush up on my TA, just because yes, I think I'm a good trader, but there's things in there, me being a guy who's educated, I always wanted to, brush up on my education and, hone my skills. And these guys are, a thing like that. If you're saying, listen, I'm paying, let's say I don't even know what the price is, but let's say 0.02 Bitcoin, 0.04 Bitcoin a month to learn a skill set that I could use the rest of my life, then to me, I think that's worth the investment. But again, if you're going to a paid group, saying BitMEX signal, enter 101120, exit 1040, use 25 times margin or whatever, which these guys don't even know that the margin doesn't even matter. But those things are just a waste of money. That's a scam. But besides that, in my opinion, there is some value to be found on crypto Twitter, and it's from those types of things.
Yeah, I think kind of to reiterate what you said here, I had a preconceived notion of Flood before he came on the episode. I had thought obviously he was a good trader, and I had admired his style and everything. But then after he came on and we kind of got to know him a little more, he's he's a totally fantastic, really is a great trader. And
great guy too, honestly.
Even better person, that's right. So,
yeah.
I think you just kind of have to read between the lines with a lot of these people and take it for what it is and really just kind of ignore all the bullshit, in my opinion. But with that, what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna kind of give a little update on our fantasy football 3 leagues that we have. Again, I'm not going to give any record updates because there's 6 teams that are 1-0 and 6 teams that are 0-1, and unfortunately, Whale and I are one of those 0-1 teams. So, in my league, which is called the Block Party League, which Block Party, for anyone that doesn't know, leverages digital identity, blockchain, and smart contract technology to bring transparency, security, and fairness to the ticketing process for event creators and attendees. Find more out at goblockparty.com. So, Crypto at Night is the leading point scorer. He scored 165.4 points, which is overall the high scoring of all 3 leagues. He was led by Christian McCaffrey, who scored 38.9 points. And then Harles was the low scorer with 78 points. So my league.
My boy.
Yeah, Prince's boy. My league as a whole scored 1,335.5 points in the first week, which was second amongst the other 3. Which is second amongst the 3 leagues. So Wales League, which is called the Ardor League, which Ardor is it helps blockchain developers and businesses develop a platform that provides quick, easy, cost-effective, and scalable ways to use the blockchain. Check them out, ardorplatform.org. Whale scored the lowest with 72.1. We don't need to talk about that. And then Priest Andretti scored 155.6. He also had McCaffrey on this team. So.
Bro, I scored lower than people who aren't even from this country and do not.
Prince doubled you up. So
I was talking shit on Canadians last episode too. No, not in general. Cardi, just there, football knowledge.
Funny. So, and Kill It Whale, your league scored 1,377.2, which is the highest of the three. So at least
There
you
we
got
go. I'm a smallish fish in a massive pond. That's all.
Yes. Your league's just more competitive. Let's just put that there after a week.
It's the SEC, basically. You know?
In Prince's league, which is called OhioBitcoin.com league. That is a website, OhioBitcoin.com, is a crypto market capitalization price index website. Basically, they've got the same tools as all the other pricing index, but their big kickers, they've got real-time price data. GTmetrics.com gave them an A as a rating. Check them out, OhioBitcoin.com. And your boy Prince, second highest scorer of the whole kit and caboodle, 156.8 points. And who did you say your highest score was? Eckler?
Eckler, yeah. Eckler had like 36. So those were my two leaders.
Damn. Eckler and then
week 2's coming up, and I'm going to make another statement. Week 1 wasn't a fluke. We're just looking at week 1 as a warm-up game now. The real season starts week 2. We're going to come out hot.
So are you saying you're going to score more than Crypto at Night's 165?
You know what? I actually would have had 10 or 20 more points than leading up to week 1, because some of the guys I traded were Baltimore guys.
Oh.
And, they ended up putting up huge points against Miami. So, I would have had the top rank, but, I was making some strategic decisions depth-wise on my roster. Move some guys.
And you can't come out guns blazing in the first week and blow your wad in the first week.
Exactly.
So Jones, I don't know your Twitter handle. I'll ask you in the chat. Was the lowest in your league at 82.4. Remember, we're all playing for the Zelcore Championship belt. Thank you very much. Zelcore and Zell is the only blockchain and cryptocurrency platform you need. Hold over 20,000 assets in one location and trade seamlessly with Zelcore Plus. Check them out, Zell.network. Now, the real one everyone wants to know about is the update on our crypto fantasy altcoin bags.
Mine are probably still melting, Just melting away.
We were talking, so refresher, Cardi, I don't know if you know this, but what we did was we each got 3 Bitcoin. We bought 3 separate altcoins in a fantasy football or a fantasy style draft, so snake order, so first pick. Blah, blah, blah. So each spent 1 Bitcoin on each of them. And in last place right now, so total is 3 Bitcoin. In last place, let's hear your guys' guesses on the order.
Well, I'll say one thing. There's no way I'm in last place in fantasy football and this shit. So it's Prince.
I've been watching these 3 shit coins. I put money. I know it's me because these things they just suck. Scams.
Who is it?
It's actually Killer.
No.
Damn it.
So your 3 Bitcoin are now worth 2.529 Bitcoin.
What am I at?
Fucking BNB.
Second place. Who do you think second place is?
You're not going to tell me I took over first, did you?
Second place is Dale, me.
No.
2.704. And your new leader, current leader, is Prince. Listen to how close this is. I was 2.704. Prince, you're 2.707.
I'm getting killed.
So my turds are actually kind of helping me, even though I'm down money. I'm in first. Okay. Yeah. These turds are floating.
So there's an update on our fantasy stuff. We'll have a new update next week with our new episode.
Contact CZ about BNB. He's got to get that thing pumping so he can win this.
So yeah, exactly. So we want to thank Tradeboi Carti. Check him out on Twitter. It's Tradeboi BOI Carti CARTI 16. is again handle. It's Tradeboi Carti 16. So thank you, Cardi. Everything you gave was top notch, like always. We're gonna have to have you again. I know we didn't get to touch on everything that we wanted to, so we'll just probably have to set up another time to kind of continue this.
That's fine, guys. I appreciate it so much. And as you guys could see, I could talk for a long time, so I really, really enjoyed it. And thanks so much for having me on.
Hey, but you know what? It's not meaningless chatter. It was very educational and knowledgeable.
Yeah, for sure.
I think people are going to learn. So for Prince Whale and myself, peace out, everybody. Tip that waitress. Get them hootskis with the boys before the snow flight starts flying. Watch football, go Bears. Super Bowl bound. Peace out, everybody.